While I walk you through some of the stuff that I've come across in recent times in terms of the kind of demand that's placed from ICT perspective, especially what I call where the new age strategies are being emphasized by enterprises in terms of what they expect out of their ICTs. If you really look at the volume of data that is being transacted, be it stored, retrieved, exchanged between applications, exchanged between humans and applications, it's been on the rise. There is an estimate that says that there are petabytes of data. Petabytes is, I think, 2 power 50 or 10 power 15 petabytes of data that are stored and transacted on a daily basis. And this, more or less doubles in every 18 months. A whole lot of statistics that I managed to collect out of Wikipedia, which was interesting to look at in terms of the kind of usage that seems to be going on across the world. So you can see that there's a whole lot of data that is being transacted compared to anything before that the world has seen, and this is only bound to grow more. The second important aspect that you come across is basically the importance of mobile communications in terms of how enterprises are using them. Mind you, I'm not talking about a personal communication setup here. In fact, to tell you an example, out of the 180 odd mails that I get typically in an average day, 40% of those I deal through my mobile phone, and it's just a simple touch phone that I have, not one of the high-end phones either. But the kind of dependence that I have on the mobile in terms of the day-to-day transaction is growing every day. I can see that for myself. And that is something that is certainly happening everywhere across the world. We've already seen some of the services that come out of mobiles, typically the SMS and USSD, getting integrated with business processes. You can see banking transactions that happen over USSD, SMS combined. You see a whole lot of services that are now heavily dependent upon mobile as a service. So on the one hand, you have the data volume that is increasing. On the other hand, there is a growing importance for mobile communication that is coming in as well. There's a third trend too. We heard about the webcast that is going on right now, and these are probably business as usual as we talk about a distributed organization that is spread across virtually across the world. Every organization is keen on trying to see how they could cut their carbon footprint, as they call it. They are going to cut down on airplane travel. There are going to be virtual teams that are going to be connected. There's going to be more and more multimedia demand that is coming in as well. And these are very serious requirements. And if you really look at what happens, why this is needed, if you really look at it, organizations have been growing, and the only way to become bigger than the street corner grocery shop is to be able to go global. And the moment you go global, you got teams that are spread across the globe. There are going to be very definite restrictions in terms of how people can move around physically. People don't uproot from one place to another just like that. So there's going to be a whole lot of restrictions within which things are going to go. So if you really look at the 5 freedoms that EU has recently come up with, they talk about goods, persons, services, capital, as well as knowledge. So the movement of knowledge in a manner where you are able to build talent pools, and the access to the talent pools is going to determine what is typically the 21st century organization. So to that extent, having ability to socialize across the organization, being able to tap into this virtual pool is something that is part of the requirements that have to be satisfied by whatever you call business supporting applications. So what used to be IT has definitely taken on a shape as ICT, and all these aspects, whether you're talking about the volume of data that is being transacted, the increased dependence on mobility, the requirement for collaboration across a large geography, and a consequent dependency on multimedia capability, is something that's a reality. And add to this something that is emerging. I understand that the inaugural address also touched upon this aspect. The semantic capabilities that are being built around machine-to-machine communication, which is going to enable a whole lot of change in business processes across organizations. So the way business is going to get transacted is going to change quite a bit, and there is going to be a whole lot of elements that are going to come in, which will demand strong information technology mechanisms, all right, but also an aligned communication capability that needs to be. So far, I've just made a case for ICT. I don't think it's anything new. It's been around for the last 5-6 years. All that is true. But what it does is, if you really look at what an ICT now has to contend with, it's got to contend with a whole lot of network access. It's got to deal with a whole lot of network products that the service providers are going to offer. It's got to bring in a whole lot of value addition for their customers, otherwise they are not going to get their budgets sanctioned. And it's got to support all the business processes like before, and probably in a much more efficient manner. So that's what is the domain of ICT focused towards, and that's what it is aiming to achieve. And true convergence is going to be achieved probably with the enterprises much before it's going to be achieved with the mass market.